Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Wired Dax. Today we're going to look at the case of Tera Smith. Coincidentally, a high school friend of Sherry Papini, whose case we looked at in early July. I'll put a link to the video so you can watch it if you haven't already done so. So, it was an ordinary midsummer day in 1998 on Saturday, August the 22nd, when Tera disappeared without a trace. It was the Saturday before school was scheduled to start. After leaving her Redding home in Shasta County, California, her sister saw her around 6 p.m. just before she left home for an evening jog, and she never returned. It has been 22 years and no body or any trace of her has ever been found. She was heading for the same trail where 18 years later Sherry Papini, aged 34, temporarily vanished, also whilst out jogging. Well, there's a very big difference in their age because Tera was 16. She was a teenager, and Sherry Papini was 34. There was nearly 20 years between their cases. It was just that it was in the same place. So, Tera was supposedly going out for a quick run, quick jog, before her shift started an hour later at the Oasis Fun Centre, which was owned and run by her parents, and it was conveniently close to home. Up until this point, Tera had always been a dependable and well-grounded teenager, going off and not letting her family know of her whereabouts was completely out of character for her. She was a freshman homecoming princess, a teenager, like I said, aged 16. She was very eye-catching, blonde. She did look strikingly similar to Sherry Papini, and she was also wearing running gear. She was wearing a white sports top, shorts, and multicolored trainers when she disappeared. Other similarities between Smith and Papini were that they both studied at the Central Valley High School. Sherry was in the same class as Tera's sister, Kira, who was a year younger. Now, someone that we need to bring up at this point is Tera's martial arts instructor. His name is Charles Troy Zink. I'll refer to him as Zink from now on. Tera's friends revealed that the then 29-year-old married dad, Zink. He was the dad of 2 children. He was also romantically involved with Tera at this time. A search of the teen's bedroom uncovered letters and journal entries which corroborated this. Final journal entries detailed Tera's plans to end her relationship with Zink. Tera's mom and dad turned all of the information over to the Shasta County Sheriff's Department, and Zink was brought up for questioning. This was the only time investigators would ever get to interview him about the disappearance. He denied any involvement and maintained that there was no inappropriate relationship between the two. He was never arrested or charged in Tera's disappearance, purely because of a lack of sufficient evidence. He refused to be questioned by investigators after his initial interview with sheriff's deputies. But media speculation in the years since Tera vanished has raised many questions about that night. Zink, who is now 47, reportedly told authorities that Tera had called him that night at work and asked him to meet near her home. He told sheriff's deputies that she had asked him for a $2,000 loan without giving a reason what it was for. According to him, when he refused, Tera became upset and asked for a ride to the intersection of Old Alturas Road and Old Oregon Trail, which he said he did at around 6:30. According to locals, this busy crossroads is not somewhere anyone would ever stop their car to drop anyone off. It was also technically too far from where she needed to be half an hour later to get to work on time. It just doesn't add up. He then claimed having dropped her off. He drove along to Hang Glider Hill alone. This is a secluded area west of Shasta Dam, and he says he was there praying for 5 hours. He returned to his Reading home about 11:30 at night. obviously no witnesses to back this up. 5 hours unaccounted for. Sadly, the police didn't act fast enough when her parents first reported her missing. They contacted the police precisely at 9:47 p.m., less than 3 hours after she was due at her job. A missing persons report was filed, but law enforcement waited 36 hours before investigating her disappearance. It was close to 41 hours of the first 48 before they took any action. Newspaper articles only reported on her disappearance 3 days later, which lost so much momentum in having the local community's support, who would have no doubt immediately got involved and helped the family search for her. As with the Papini case, I think one of the reasons why law enforcement was so slow to act fast in tracing Tera's whereabouts immediately is partly explained by a local from the Reading area. They stated, "You have to understand the area and its politics. Like every California county, Shasta County elects its sheriff, while Reading and Anderson have their own police departments. The sheriff's department is law enforcement in unincorporated rural areas, and the sheriff is a very important figure. The region has a strong rural identity. Most people are middle class and nearly 100% white. They tend to be churchgoers and are very conservative, both politically and socially. What I understand from what they're saying is that it's essential that the sheriff is seen to be keeping his community safe. Having a missing case on his hands would threaten how the locals view him. His strong supporters would soon turn against him for fear that the same may happen to their children, and as a consequence, voting him out. I believe to a certain point, to avoid frightening the community, they covered up the situation for as long as possible, in the hopes that it would blow over, leaving locals none the wiser. But sadly this was not the case, as Tera was still unaccounted for after 36 hours. They eventually started the investigation with 14 officers, including FBI agents and a Reading police officer, full-time. Needless to say, several hours were lost, during which nothing was done. In all likelihood, those 5 hours that Zinc was unaccounted for, precious clues were disposed of, regardless whether it was Zinc's doing or whether there were other suspects. There were so many hours for any evidence or crime scene, able to be swiped clean and never to be discovered. Law enforcement claimed they were watching every move Troy Zink made, and yet it's reported that he still managed to get his truck detailed and the tires changed. Well, why would he do this? Why change tires when you're the number one suspect to a missing teenager? You just wouldn't do it at that moment in time if you absolutely didn't need to get rid of evidence. It's too risky. Unless keeping the tires would send you to jail for the rest of your life. Other than Zink, there was one other unconfirmed sighting of Tera on the evening of her disappearance in Reading. A witness told investigators that someone matching Tera's description was spotted inside a full-size dark blue 1976 Ford pickup truck with mag wheels and a yellow tailgate. The girl was accompanied by an unidentified Caucasian male. It has not been established if this sighting is related to Tera's case. Since I learned about these cases backwards, I now can't help thinking that Sherry Papini took advantage of Tera's missing case, purposely recreating a scenario alike Tera's by faking her disappearance in a similar fashion for her own reasons. It doesn't make a lot of sense that Sherry Papini went into hiding after reappearing, because surely the most natural reaction would be to want to feel safe, resting assured that the culprits had been caught. Anyway, I won't say much more about Sherry Papini. This video is about Tera. But if you are interested in hearing more about Sherry Papini's case, I'll leave the link to that video in the description box. So here is yet another case where no arrests have ever been made in connection with Tera Smith's disappearance. Her case remains unsolved. I can't begin to imagine what this has done to her family. My heart goes out to them and those close to her. Let's hope that one day someone will come forward with information, giving her family the closure they deserve. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.